All right. During the entire course of this webinar, if you have any kind of doubts, if you're not able to follow up, or if you miss a few slides also, or whatever I'm speaking, I'm recording this entire webinar, and the recording will be posted on our YouTube channel. Okay, I'll be sharing the YouTube link with you tomorrow during the follow-up email that I'll be sharing with you all. So if you miss any content of today's webinar, you can refer it via the recording that I'll be sharing with you tomorrow. If you have any questions, please keep posting your questions in the chat so that if we get time at the end, I'll address those questions for you. And without further ado, let's begin today's webinar. I'll start sharing my screen. Just a moment. Yeah. So, yeah, today we are going to talk about Dr. Raj Dandekar's story, problems with traditional machine learning, writing research papers in machine learning. I'm also going to talk a little bit about why we are discussing writing research papers in machine learning and why it is important to have machine learning research in your profile. I'm also going to talk a little bit about research paper basics. If some of you are not familiar with the research paper basics, I'm just going to give you a little introduction about that. And then some of the bootcamp details that we have, I'm also going to be talking about those. All right. So if today is your first time attending Videsh's webinar, then I'd like to give you a short introduction about our co-founders. So Videsh was co-founded by three co-founders, Dr. Raj, Dr. Rajat, and Dr. Sridath, who are award-winning scientists and researchers at IIT Madras and MIT and Purdue University in the US. Okay. So most of you know Dr. Raj Dandekar's story, that he is basically a mechanical engineer and how he transitioned to machine learning basically. And then he graduated with a PhD in machine learning from MIT and then hasn't looked back since. Okay, so he integrated successfully all the concepts of machine learning, not just fundamentals, but also hardcore research and projects into his profile. And then what he did was he made a career choice of completely transitioning to machine learning. Okay, that was a very individual decision that he took, depending upon what he wanted to do in his career ahead. But then same goes for Dr. Rajat and Dr. Sridath. They are also accomplished AI researchers in their field and have won many awards for doing AI and ML research. Okay, so basically, our aim at Videsh here is to help students and working professionals write research papers, dive into research, even if you don't have much experience, and helping integrate AI and machine learning into your profiles. Okay, so that is the aim with which Videsh and Vizuara were basically founded, and it is basically to integrate AI and ML into your profiles for any purpose. It might be to get into a good school for your graduate studies. It might be to completely transition into AI ML like Dr. Raj, or it might be just to upskill your profile by having a few projects in machine learning in your profile that you can successfully show. Okay, so research is the main foundation for our team, and we rely heavily on research. We believe that research is very much underrated during our undergraduate studies. Research is not given that kind of importance that it should have been given, and that is why even if you want to transition to machine learning or AI, research is very important. Okay, so we believe heavily in research, and with this aim basically Videsh was founded. All right. So we also help you to get admits into your dream universities in case you're applying for graduate schools. So with the help of integrating AI and ML into your profile, you can also get admits from very good universities, because universities nowadays value emerging technologies a lot. Okay, and AI and ML is one of them. Okay, so that is also something that we are heavily invested in. Now, today's agenda is focused more on, like I said earlier, all the details that we talked about earlier. So let's begin. Yeah, so our co-founder story, basically, I'd just like to share in brief. Most of you must already know his story if you've been following him on LinkedIn. Still, I think it is very important to reiterate the story because it's an inspiration for anyone who wants to integrate machine learning or AI into their profiles. And like I said, it can be for any purpose. It might be that you're a student, you're a working professional, but then upskilling yourself nowadays is so important, right? So Dr. Raj is basically a mechanical engineer with a BTech from IIT Madras. He graduated back in 2016 and 2017 and applied to MIT in the same year for a PhD in mechanical engineering. All right. So when he applied to MIT, he did not know what machine learning was in the first place, and he was admitted into the MIT's program of mechanical engineering. So with that aim, actually, he went to the US to pursue his PhD in fluid mechanics specifically. And then what happened was, actually, he went to a career fair, and then there he realized that there was a lot of demand for people who were well versed with machine learning techniques. Okay, AI was not so popular during that time. We are talking about before COVID times. We are talking about 2018, 2019. Okay, so at that time, machine learning was an emerging field, and there was not much focus on AI. So then recruiters were very much interested in people who knew machine learning, who were well versed with solving problems using machine learning techniques. Okay, and he also realized that the core domains that one pursues his or her studies in, the jobs in those core domains are comparatively lesser. Okay, so the demand was comparatively lesser for core domains. That is when he actually realized the market conditions. That is when he got to know that the market is moving towards people, or market is more interested in people with machine learning knowledge. And that is when he kind of lost interest in his mechanical engineering domain that he had already spent a year working on. And that was when he started to scout for different machine learning courses that would introduce him to machine learning. And then he just wanted to see what the hype was all about. He wanted to join a few introductory courses and see if it actually was something that he was interested in. But then after talking to few of his professors, he found those introductory courses. He also found a research lab that was invested in ML research, and the rest is history. He was so much heavily interested in that. And then at the same time, COVID hit. Okay, so he also published a paper related to COVID-19 impact on hospital beds also. So it was a very impactful problem statement at that point that his research group solved using ML techniques. Okay, so the impact also is very, very important. What you publish or what you are researching or needs to be very relevant also. So he graduated with a PhD in machine learning, and then he had published a lot of papers during his time in machine learning. He completely switched his field from mechanical engineering to machine learning. All right, and then in 2022, after there was a lot of surge in the market for AI, then there was generative AI. And then after that, it was very important also to impart this knowledge to students and working professionals. So that is why we call AI and ML integration into your domain. Okay, so first of all, there was machine learning, and then slowly the market moved towards AI. All right, and nowadays all of the industries are looking at implementing AI or machine learning to their workflows to make them better. So that is where the industry is moving right now, 6 7 years later. And that is where we are looking at making a difference. That is where we are looking at helping to upskill your profile in such a way that you successfully integrate machine learning and AI into your profile. All right, now how was this possible for him? When you look back, when you see that a core mechanical engineer does not have any algorithm courses, any DS courses in their curriculum in their undergrad studies, how was it possible for Raj to successfully grasp those concepts. Well, these are some of the papers that they produced. Like I said, it was related to COVID-19 having direct impact to the US government. It was a very impactful work that his research team was doing, and this report was produced for the US government. So this was also a very, I would say, an impactful report, impactful paper that Dr. Raj worked on. All right. So, yeah, so like I said, he did not have any formal knowledge in CS. So many of the people out there think that, AI and ML is not meant for me if I'm not a CS student. Of course, CS students end up having an advantage over core students, but then the example that I just showed you literally proves that even a core student can transition successfully into this particular domain. And even if you're a CS student, then you would of course be at an advantage. You would of course have an advantage of transitioning or integrating ML and AI smoothly into your profile. But then, is ML only meant for CS students? The answer is no. It is completely possible for you to transition into machine learning if you have your mathematics strong. Okay, so the fundamentals of mathematics is something that you need to focus on, or it has to be very strong during your undergrad years. Even if it's not, there are a particular topics in mathematics that need to be revised. Okay, so it's completely possible. It's not impossible for a core student. And this, I'm talking about engineering. Okay, for those people who are not in engineering backgrounds, who are from finance, economics, also physics, those people also can successfully transition to machine learning and AI. Okay, so it's not only meant for engineering core and non-core students, it's also meant for people with all domains. Okay, you can successfully integrate machine learning into your profile. May it be you're from any domain. Okay, the most important thing in this transition or during this integration is that you have to be very persistent. You have to have a clear aim. You need to know what you're doing. You need to be very clear about the kind of steps that you are meant to take, and that is why we are hosting this webinar, for you to give a clear understanding of which steps you need to take if you want to integrate ML into your profile. All right. Yeah, these are some of the works that Dr. Raj did in spite of being a mechanical engineer. And then at the end also, when he was on the verge of finishing his PhD, he ended up getting job offers from Facebook, Amazon, Julia Computing also. And it was with decent packages. Okay, so in spite of being a mechanical engineer, these organizations did not care that he was a core mechanical engineer. All they cared was the kind of research that he'd done. They talked about his research at length during his interviews, and his previous profile, his undergrad profile, was just history. What the kind of work that he did for the US government during COVID-19. They talked about the models that he built. They talked at length about the research work that he had done. Okay, so slowly I'm coming to the point where research is so important. Having practical exposure to machine learning is so very important. Okay, because when you are appearing for job interviews, now I'm talking about people who want to either transition to machine learning, or who want to integrate machine learning into their profile to probably have an edge in their existing organization, or to switch internally also. Okay, and whenever you're going to talk to an interviewer, what they're going to be talking about is, tell us about your experience in machine learning. Okay, so that is when you can't just talk about fundamentals. You can't just talk about neural networks, decision trees, differential equations. You need to support that with examples. You need to support that with the kind of work that you've individually done. You need to show individual contributions when you're talking about experience. Okay, so that is what I'm talking about when I talk about research. Okay, you need to show that you have done some kind of research. You've worked on a practical problem statement for you to be qualified for such jobs. All right. So when he transitioned to machine learning, when he came back to India, he basically realized that traditional ML courses that are available right now are not right. Okay, and by not right, I'll come to that point later on, why it is that we find that these courses are not something that are enough. Okay, by not right, I mean it's a good introduction to give to you, but you shouldn't stop there. Okay, it's like doing these courses and deciding for yourselves if okay, I have done a successful integration, I've completed an online course, and this is success, this is enough for me to land a job. And after that, probably you'll see that you're not getting any offers, you're not getting any interview calls, and that's probably because you stopped there, right? You need to go on from there. Okay, and also, like I said, students from any field can transition to machine learning. Machine learning is something that can be integrated successfully with any domain. Okay, and yes, ML research is something which is so important, because that is something that is going to give you an advantage when you talk at interviews, even when you update your statement of purpose to submit to your graduate schools. All right, ML research can be a foundation of your SOP also, if you're applying to grad schools. For interviewers, for job interviews, it's like fundamental point of discussion, especially if you're a person from a non-CS background who's looking to transition to machine learning. They are going to talk about your experience in machine learning, what you have done, your research problem statements. And if you don't have any, then I think it's very difficult for you to get even an interview call with just doing those theoretical online courses. Okay, that's not enough. It's a good introduction, but that's not enough. Okay, again, very important point. Okay, the first part of starting to integrate machine learning into your profile is by mastering the fundamentals and concepts. Okay, so what do I mean by fundamentals and concepts? Okay, there are a few things that you need to master, there are a few concepts that you need to master before you can move on to the practical aspect of things. Okay, and how can you do that? How can you master those concepts? Now we have a few playlists that we have created, that our co-founders have created specifically for beginners and specifically for people looking to integrate machine learning in their profile. Okay, so the first three playlists are something that are so very important. When you look at what you need to do, how do I start? Okay, so you can start by going through these three playlists that I have mentioned here. Of course, I will share the link to these playlists later on in the follow-up email that I'll be sharing with you tomorrow. But then yes, these first three playlists are something that you can get started with, and it will be a very good introduction for you to clear your fundamentals and concepts. Okay, I would say that it will also help you to clear your mathematical foundations also. And the only thing that I see, or the only thing that we know people do, is that they're very focused, they're very passionate when they start, but then during after the first one or two lectures, the enthusiasm starts to die down. It's like the consistency is not as much as it is needed to be. Okay, you need to be extremely consistent, focused, and there has to be a particular time in the day when you're watching certain videos. And so one video per day is something that you need to dedicate time to. Now some of you might be working professionals, there might be work commitments, but then still try to stick to this one video per day a concept. Some of you might be students who might be extremely invested in your academics right now. It might be a tough time for you, but then still try to spare half an hour, 1 hour per day for these particular playlist. Okay, what this is going to do, this is going to clear up your fundamentals and concepts in a very I would say focused way. It's going to help you a great deal. Okay, yeah. So now what I'm going to talk about is something that I'm going to focus now more on the traditional ML courses problem part. Okay, so this particular screenshot that I'm showing here is focused on As you can see, this is the machine learning course that is available for free on the MIT website. It's like their free ML course module. Now the problem with these courses, the problem with these type of online courses is that I don't have any problem with the theory. It starts completely on a basic level. You start with linear algebra, you start with probability, and then slowly you move on to introduction to machine learning. You move on to concepts like regression, you move on to neural networks. The only problem here is the projects. Okay, so when you look at the projects, you can see that project 1 is an automatic review analyzer. Project 2 is digit recognition. Project 3 looks something like collaborative filtering, sentiment analysis, etc. Now the projects are, I agree, they are very much related to the fundamentals that are being taught during this course, but then that's not exactly what the recruiters are looking at, or that's not the kind of projects that the grad schools are looking at, right? What you need to show in your profile is not some review analyzer that you did for Netflix, not some collaborative movie filtering that you did for Netflix movies. Okay, that's not something that looks like a serious project, and that's not related to anybody's field, right? It's completely unrelated to any field whatsoever. Even the text based game digit recognition, these are toy projects. Okay, so these are just, I would say, you can, of course you can go through these, but you shouldn't stop here. Okay, this is what I'm reiterating multiple times, to show that you shouldn't stop here at these projects. Okay, it's fine to do these projects, but then it should be like, you should understand that you can't add these projects to your resume, you can't add these projects in your GitHub portfolio as well, because these are toy projects not related to any field. Okay, what you need more is some serious projects. Okay, these projects that I'm talking about need to have domain specific knowledge as well. Okay, so how do you make a successful transition, right? How do you integrate your core domain, whatever it is? It might be mechanical engineering, it might be finance, it might be economics, it can be physics, chemical engineering, biology, even healthcare even. So it can be any of those things. How do you make sure that you integrate that into your profile to smoothly transition? Okay, so what do you need to do in that case is you need to pick up projects, you need to work on research problem statements that are heavily focused on your core domain, but then still use scientific machine learning. Okay, and that is completely possible. You can completely do that. It's very, very possible to integrate your core domain with the machine learning and produce high quality projects and high quality research papers. Okay, now what I'm talking about is are few examples of a few projects, a few problem statements that you can consider, that can be considered as serious projects. Okay, so how to use ML to model COVID-19 infections in all regions of the world? Yes, of course, very serious. How to recover a chemical reaction equation from data alone? Now, this is meant for people who are in the chemical domain and who want to transition to machine learning. So, how is this problem statement going to help you? It's going to help you in such a way that it shows the recruiter, or it shows your grad school, that you're not trying to run away from your core domain. You're trying to successfully integrate machine learning into your profile by using the knowledge that you learned previously. Okay, so that is the beauty of choosing problem statements in such a way that they integrate successfully into your profile, right? The next part, or the next example, can be something like using ML to predict black hole dynamics. It can be using ML to predict economic market forces like supply and demand, or it can be using ML for biochemistry, or to analyze fluid mechanics, climate problems, etc. So the examples that I gave you very clearly define the kind of projects that you need to pick. Okay, the kind of serious problem statements that you need to pick depending upon your domain. Okay, how this will help you? First of all, it will give you the kind of confidence to talk about your projects in a very confident and detailed way. And that is exactly something that will impress the recruiters. Also, it will it will be very visible in your SOPs if you're trying to apply to grad schools. And confidence is, easily reflected in your writing as well. Okay, so even if you try to put it in your resume, you can confidently talk about it and direct the conversation there. Okay, so that is how it will help you. It will also help you to publish independent research papers. Now, most of you must have preconceived notion that that research is something for PhD students. It's not something that you can do for working professionals. But actually, that's not the case. Research can be a very good option, or research can be very important part even if you are working professional. Okay, you can talk at length about your research paper, and the research problem statement has to be related to your industry. If it is related to the industry, if it is related to the current market, if it is related to the work that you're already doing, imagine the kind of value addition it will do to your profile. Okay, keeping aside the conference and journal publications, the kind of value that it will add to your profile is immense. And we've seen a lot of students, who have benefited immensely in terms of career opportunities, also in their jobs also, whether it is to transition completely into AI/ML, or whether it is to successfully integrate ML into their core domains, to get better opportunities in their existing firms as well. Okay, so that is also something that you can do. And like I said, you can include all these projects in your CV, and this will open multiple job opportunities, okay, in any of the organization that you're targeting. So research is something that clearly shows that if it's a first author research paper, it clearly shows the kind of contribution that you have done to this particular research paper. And that is a very impressive feat on its own, because not many candidates who are applying for such positions have research papers. Okay, that is something that puts you at an advantage. Okay, even when we are recruiting in our firm for an ML engineer or for an AI engineer, we hardly care about the kind of college that you come from, the kind of undergrad experience that you have. All we care about is your passion, what research work you have done, what kind of projects you have contributed to, and your overall knowledge. Okay, your overall concept clearance. Okay, that is something that we look at. How clear you are with the fundamentals, how willing you are to dedicate your time and energy to the projects that we are running here at Videsh and Vizuara. So all the recruiters are looking for the same thing. Okay, they are looking at people who not just have done some online courses, but people who have actual experience. Okay, so that is it. That is something that you should be looking at. All right. Yeah, so like I said, you can update your CV with all these projects. You can work on journal submissions, you can work on conference submissions, you can work to present your work at a conference also. So that is a very impressive feat on its own. And you can highlight that in the first part of your resume. If your paper is published at a conference, if you go to any conference, if you are publishing your paper in a journal, if you are presenting at a conference somewhere in the world, that's a very impressive feat, and that is something that you can successfully highlight in your profile as well. Okay, so even for grad schools, I mean, it immediately elevates your profile by 4 to 5 times. Okay, that is something that we are looking at. We are looking at actual successful integration by doing actual research work. And let me give you an example of what I'm trying to say. Okay, so even one publication in a well-known research journal or a conference, impactful journal or a conference, is much better than doing a lot of toy projects, than doing a lot of small projects or submissions to journal and conferences that are not renowned enough. Okay, just do one publication, a minimum one publication, to a reputed journal. Get your paper published in a journal or conference that is top tier ML conference in the world. And then let it show on your profile, and see the kind of work that it does for you. Okay, also look at the kind of confidence that it gives you to talk about your research work. Okay, so that is why doing all these things is very important. okay, rather than doing just some courses that you find online. All right. Now, domains that can successfully transition to the field of machine learning, these are just some of the examples that we've given, and the list does not limit itself to only these particular domains. Okay. The list can be never ending. It can be a very extensive list if you take into consideration all the other fields. But then that is also very much possible. We've had a lot of biologists, a lot of people in healthcare also, that have successfully integrated medicine into the field of machine learning, and successfully published research papers as well. Okay, so there are a lot of domains that, apart from these domains, that can successfully integrate machine learning into their profile. All right. So now that we know about machine learning, we know why it is important to have research in your profile, why it is important to integrate research in your profile. I'm just going to give you a quick overview about the research paper outline. Okay, I'm just going to share a few pointers with you regarding the research paper outline. All right. Some of you must be familiar with the paper outline of the kind of contents the research paper has. But for those of you who are not familiar with it, I think an introduction to having a research profile. What is a research paper? What does it consist of? Okay. It's not as hard as it looks, of course, but then there are a few very important points that you need to consider when you're looking at a research paper. Okay, so what are those points? Okay, when you look at a paper outline, you're basically looking at five important parts that form a skeleton of your research paper. The first is the title, second is the abstract, third is the introduction, fourth is the table, and fifth is the figures. Okay, so these five parts constitute of a paper outline. You can see 12 parts here that constitute a research paper totally, but then all of the other sections I wouldn't say they're not as important, but they are something that can be derived from the paper outline. And once you're ready with the paper outline, it necessarily means that you have done almost 60 to 70% of the work, and what remains is now, adding these sections, which is a comparatively easy feat. Okay, the first part, or before we start, the paper template to choose from, you can choose Overleaf, you can choose MS Word. We would recommend you to choose Overleaf because it gives a very professional feel to your research paper and makes your paper look very, very professional without you having to code a certain any specific line. Okay, so it converts your document into a LaTeX format, which is pre-formatted. Everything is formatted in the right way. You just have to make edits in the text, and that's it. You get a very professional looking paper that is very, very good to look at. Okay, so that this is something that we would recommend. Of course, if you're not comfortable with Overleaf, you can always go ahead and use the MS Word template. Okay, the links I will be sharing in the description of the YouTube video. All right. So yeah, so the paper outline, the first part is the title. Title basically is like, it's like giving an insight into the entire research paper. Okay, it's like a 12 to 13 words title that usually gives an entire insight into your paper. Okay, so it can be something like modeling chaotic Lorentz ODE system using SciML, or it can be used, something else, or some of the examples that I showed previously, if you remember, the problem statement. So it can be anything, but then it has to be very clear of the kind of a paper that you're writing. The title has to clearly depict that. Okay, abstract again is a 200-word essay which gives an insight, a more detailed insight into what you are writing about, what your paper is about. And I understand that writing an abstract can be kind of overwhelming. If you're told to write about what you're going to do in a 200 words, it can be kind of overwhelming. Okay, so for that, what we've done is we have converted the abstract into four parts. The first part will focus on large scale problem. It will at length talk about any large scale problem that you have undertaken, and it will cater to a much wider audience. Okay, The second part will talk about a specific challenge and is catered to a much specific expert audience. Okay, because you're talking about a specific challenge here. Okay, and here it does not cater to a wider audience. Same goes for the third part, because here you're talking about specific merits and details of your approach. This part is very important because it is talking a lot about your approach. All right, this again caters to a very specific audience. And then fourth part is wider implications. Okay, so first and fourth part are very much for a wider audience, and second and third part basically are for a specific expert audience. And that is why we call it the hourglass approach, and that also helps you to understand that how you should structure your abstract in such a way that it depicts an hourglass. Okay, so when you talk about these specific points, it becomes very easy to expand these bullet pointed points into a full-fledged paragraph of 200 words. That's not a problem. It's not as overwhelming. Okay, so yeah, and then the next part is the introduction section. Okay, introduction section is, I would say, the most important part of the paper outline, because it is 1000 to 1500 word essay, and it doesn't just give an idea but talks about your paper and your approach in detail. Okay, and we've also divided the introduction into 5 parts. First part, what is the problem? So you talk about the problem statement here. Second part is, how are people trying to solve this problem? Okay, so now second part deals a lot with the literature study. All right, here you have to mention in detail about the kind of literature study that you've done, some references if you have them. And then third part is very important: what are the issues with the current approaches? So that will immediately give an insight into why we are doing research in this particular field. Okay, fourth part talks in detail about the novelty of your research paper. Again, very important, because reviewers are looking a lot at novelty. Okay, the novelty is one of the most important factors of a paper getting accepted. So make sure that when you're selecting a problem statement, it's a novel problem statement. All right, and then there are large scale implications of your solution. So these 5 parts are what you call an introduction. First of all, we write those points, and then we expand them into a paragraph version, different paragraphs consisting of 1000 to 1500 words. All right, the next part is the figures. So as this name suggests, figures is something that adds a visual effect to your paper. And these are some of the points that you should remember when you are inserting a figure into your paper. Okay, so these might look like very minor points, but when the reviewer is going through your paper, it shouldn't feel like some of these points are missing, and that can actually lead to a rejection if your figure is not correct. Okay, or it doesn't adhere to these 6 points that are mentioned in the slide here. Okay, for your reference, I'll show you a figure. Yes, of course, you can insert your figures through Canva, Adobe Illustrator, Excel, or PPT. But then you can also do that through Overleaf. Okay, this is an example figure that I wanted to show you, which is perfect both in terms of figure number, title, resolution, labeling, subfigure number, description, etc. So make sure your figures are aligned, and not just one figure. Every figure that you're adding to your paper, make sure it is uniform throughout. Okay, so uniformity is something that you should look at very, very actively. All right, the fifth part is the tables. Right now, tables also, like figures, give a visual insight into the paper, and whatever text that can be converted into a table, that should be done. Okay, so but again, when you are inserting tables, make sure that tables are well aligned. They also have a table number, description, font size, font color, etc. It should be uniform throughout the tables also, whichever and wherever you're inserting the tables. Okay, so same rules that apply for figures apply for tables as well. All right, you can insert tables in Overleaf as well, same like the figures. All right, so adding references. Okay, when you look at references, when you want to add references to your paper, what happens basically is that when you are adding the bullet pointed version of the papers of the references in your introduction, you can expand the same section in your references section. Okay, that actually makes your job much more easier. But then this is a separate section that that consists of references. Okay, then yes, we are ready with the bullet pointed version. We are ready with title, we are ready with abstract, introduction, tables, figures, and this actually forms the skeleton of your research paper. All right, acknowledgements is a very simple section that basically, who would you like to express your acknowledgement to. You can mention the name of those people there. It's a comparatively simple section, short simple section. Okay, and then yeah, like I said, you can convert this at the end, or you can do it as in when you're writing your all the sections. Okay, so first we are writing our sections in bullet points, and then we are converting it into a full paragraph version. Okay, because a paragraph is something that is what is used in a research paper. We don't use bullet pointed notations. Okay, the next sections is the conclusion section of the paper. Okay, this is also it has the same length as that of the abstract, 200 to 300 words. It quickly summarizes your paper, and it talks about actual takeaways. Okay, like I said, conclusion is also something that is basically I would say a concentrated extract of the results that you've achieved, the takeaways, and the summary of the entire paper. Okay, so that is also a comparatively simple section that you can even write at the very end. Okay, and then this is the supplementary section, which is not compulsory, of course, but then if there is something that you want to add to your research paper that you can't really fit in anywhere else, you can put that under the supplementary section. Okay, now regarding the writing style, there are a lot of mistakes that people do. There are a lot of tense mistakes that people do. So always use active voice instead of passive voice. That makes your contributions very, very actively written. It makes you very confident. It actually talks a lot about your contributions. Okay, so a refrain from using passive voice. Okay, the kind of tenses that you should use, that also becomes confusing for a lot of students. So use present tense for analysis or conclusions, and past tense for experiments conducted. Okay, you can use this as a rule of thumb. And then sorry. So regarding grammar and spelling, so we have plugins like Grammarly, and in today's age, you cannot make mistakes in vocabulary and grammar. It's a strict no. If you don't have Grammarly, just take a printout of the entire manuscript and just sit with a highlighter in your hand, and try to find mistakes. Be your own critic. All right, so make sure that there are no grammar or spelling mistakes, no vocab mistakes. Okay, it's a complete no when you are submitting the paper. The next part is identifying a journal for submission or a conference. So if you are integrating machine learning in your profile, basically what we are actively looking at, we are targeting top ML conferences and journals in the world. Okay, so we are targeting NeurIPS, MSML, JuliaCon, IEEE, CERN, etc., and a lot of other journals also, depending upon relevance and depending upon the topic that you pick. Okay, but these 5 or 6 journals are top ML journals and conferences in the machine learning domain. And if you manage to get your paper published or accepted in this conference or journal, then it's a very big feat, something you can proudly write in your resume. Okay, generally the impact factor of a journal defines the quality of a journal. Okay, so the higher the impact factor, the harder it is to get your paper published in that particular journal. Okay, for a particular conference, I would say that when you submit a paper to a particular conference, it's not the process is different, a little bit different from a journal submission, because you have to actually go and present in a conference. But then you should, ideally the way to submit your paper is both to a journal and a conference. Okay, So now I'm going to talk about machine learning. I'm going to talk about scientific machine learning bootcamp that we have here at Videsh, and what it basically focuses on, what we are exactly doing, how we are supporting students in this particular bootcamp, and the kind of research work that we are doing in this particular bootcamp. Okay. So what we are doing basically is we are combining fundamentals, we are combining concepts, and we are linking it to research and projects. Okay. So we have three parts in the SciML bootcamp. The first part is the fundamentals and concepts. The second part is the projects, and third part is the research. Okay. So yes, scientific machine learning bootcamp caters for everybody who wants to integrate machine learning into their profile, whether it is that you're CS student, you are a engineering student, or you are a student from any other background. Okay, we can successfully take problem statements and write research papers, impactful research papers in machine learning. Okay. This is the bootcamp content that we have in the SciML bootcamp. We start with the introduction, then we go to understanding Julia computing. We look at ODs, PDs. We look at neural networks. We look at differential equations, etc. So the three playlists actually that I showed you earlier, I'll be sharing the links on YouTube as well. Go through those playlists, and side by side, if you are a part of this or a participant of this particular boot camp, it will help you immensely to work through, or to progress through this particular boot camp. Okay. After we finish the fundamentals, we are focusing on two research projects, and which focus on COVID-19 infection prediction using SciML and black hole dynamics using SciML. Now, this is, we can actually modify these projects depending upon your domain. We can do a little bit tweaks here and there to make sure that these projects align with your domain experience. And then the next part, the third part, is that we are focusing on writing a paper. Now, how exactly does this happen? Is that we are first asking you your areas of interest. You have to first tell us what you are interested in, anything it is that you would like to focus on, and then mutually our co-founders are selecting a topic which is the most impactful, also which has maximum chances of getting published in a reputed journal or conference, and then we begin writing a research paper. Of course, feedback is given on every small section that you write. For example, if after you write an abstract, you submit that abstract, feedback is given to you on the submission that you made, and then you proceed to the next part, that is the introduction. So this is how we proceed in this particular boot camp. It's not very overwhelming when you are a part of the SciML boot camp, because you don't have to do everything at once. Your tasks will be divided into number of weeks. There will be small deadlines for you to complete every week, and that is something you can do to progress. Okay. These are some sample projects you will do. These are serious projects that you can successfully add to your resume also. All right. These are not toy projects. Now you can publish your papers in SciML. It can look something like this. It can elevate your profile by 5 to 10 times, whether it is that you're trying to make a career shift, or whether it is that you're trying to apply to grad schools. Okay. So anyway, any which ways, writing a research paper is going to help you tremendously. Okay, these are some of the different plans that you can choose from. Now we have these two plans, student plan and the community plan, that is heavily focused on the first two parts, that is fundamentals and concepts. And the researcher and the industry professional plan are heavily focused on research. Okay. In all of these boot camps, except the student plan, you will get an access to a Discord community, a community which interacts among themselves. Peer interaction is something that we call it. So you can discuss with your peers if you have any questions, if you have any doubts. So you will get an access to that as well. Okay, and then we will help you with the following. Okay, we will help you to confidently transition to machine learning from any field. What you can do is you can implement domain specific real life hands-on projects. You will learn how to convert ML projects into research publication. Then of course successfully you can add that to your CV. Okay, so in addition to the machine learning boot camp, I also would like to show a few of the submissions and few of the acceptances that we received at a few top ML conferences in the world. So first is JuliaCon. 4 papers were accepted to JuliaCon in this year, and the topics were more or less on brain tumor, cancer cells, ocean pollution, and neuron plasticity. So you can look at the variety of domain specific research that participants are doing as a part of the SciML Bootcamp. All right. These are some of the students that went ahead and presented in different conferences. We've even put up, post on our LinkedIn as well. So a lot of students also went to NeurIPS to submit their papers, to present their papers also. So overall, I would say the SciML Bootcamp is a pretty successful bootcamp as of now, and of course it's something that you should definitely look at if you are looking at integrating machine learning into your profile. All right, so if you are interested in the machine learning bootcamp, in the SciML bootcamp, you can get in touch with us at hello@flyvidesh.com. Just attach your LinkedIn profile there, just mention 1 or 2 lines about yourself, and we will get back to you depending upon your profile. Okay, so write to us if you are interested to pursue the SciML bootcamp, because we have different conferences and journals coming up throughout the year, and if something is relevant based on your research topic or research paper, we immediately make a suggestion to you and we encourage you to submit to that particular venue. Okay, so so again, yes, research is something which is extremely important when you are trying to integrate machine learning into your profile, and that is also something that you should do if you are interested or if you are really serious about having machine learning in your profile. Now that being said, in 2022 what happened was a wave of generative AI came in. A lot of industries were looking at people who are looking also, who are more interested or who have AI knowledge. Okay, so that after that actually, that is why we call AI ML integration or AI ML knowledge. Okay, so that is also something that you can look at. And we also have generative AI boot camps that focus a lot on generative AI, like machine learning. That particular boot camp is focused on research in generative AI, in LLMs, etc. Okay, so that is also a research boot camp having a similar structure to the machine learning boot camp. So if you are interested in that, then please reach out to us at hello@flyvidesh.com, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. All right. So yeah, now is the end of today's webinar. I'll just see if there are any questions in the chat. Will this be uploaded to the YouTube channel? Yes, we are going to upload this webinar to the YouTube channel most probably tomorrow. I'll share a follow-up email with you also tomorrow with the link of the YouTube recording also. There I will mention in the description the 3 playlists that I showed to you in today's webinar, and different links that I showed throughout the presentation as well. So is there a similar bootcamp for working professionals? Yes, basically SciML bootcamp specifically is designed for working professionals. However, the problem statement that you select depends upon the kind of experience that you have. So if you're a working professional, the problem statement or the research problem statement will be selected depending upon your work experience and the industry that you're working in. Okay, so it will be closely linked to the kind of work that you're doing, and it will be highly relevant for you if you're making a transition. Okay, so yes, that being said, I think there are no more questions, and I think we are at the end of the time also. Yes. So can you please share some info regarding the RL Research Bootcamp? And I'm interested and I want to know more about that. Yeah. So the RL Bootcamp basically also is a very research oriented bootcamp, and that is also something that is very specific actually. So you can email us at hello@flyvidesh.com, and I will share you all the information that you need to know regarding the RL bootcamp. Okay, so that is also another bootcamp that we have, and sure, I can share you the information. Please reach out to me on hello@flyvidesh.com, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. I'm mentioning the email here again. If any of you are did not check out the slide or missed it, just a moment. Yes, so this is the email ID that you can reach out to for further information regarding any of the boot camps, or even it is anything that you are stuck with. It also might be that you're not a complete beginner. You are starting with some research. You're doing some kind of courses. You've already started research and you're stuck somewhere else. So it might be any of those things. Please reach out to us as soon as you can, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you for your time. Thank you for attending today's webinar, and all the best. Thank you.